divulged that she knew that, the Bush administration was lying about Iraq having weapons of mass destruction, having, nuclear weapons, but she didn't think that was an impeachable offense, apparently, and that also she didn't want to make an impeachment a way of life for people in the United States, I guess, because, the previous Clinton administration, he had been, impeached. Nothing came from it, and just she didn't want it to make it a way of life for this, and some very troubling logic for not wanting to impeach the president for, what is one of the hugest, foreign policy mistakes of the 21st century, because as we know, the Iraq War led to at least 500,000 Iraqi people dying. It's probably honestly a lot more than that. Huge amounts being displaced. I believe it was about 5,000 American soldiers were killed during the war in Iraq. It's cost multiple trillions of dollars have been, wasted over there that could have been, either used for diplomacy around the world or for domestic programs that are very much needed in the United States, like universal health care, free college, a living wage, all kind, free preschool. All of these different things would have been a much better use of funds than to be going to war that, we now know was based on lies, but apparently Nancy Pelosi is okay with that. It's, very interesting that she didn't want to impeach George W. Bush for lying us into a war with Iraq on these false pretenses, but she's willing to impeach Donald Trump over, threatening to withhold military aid from Ukraine. And, obviously it did appear that Trump, was, trying to leverage the aid for, some political dirt on Joe Biden and his son. But doesn't it seem, at least it does to me, it seems a lot worse of an offense what the Bush administration did, literally lying us into an actual war with Iraq on these false pretenses that they had weapons of mass destruction. She knew that was a lie, but she didn't think that was an impeachable offense because she didn't want impeachment to become a way of life. I was like, no, the impeachment process is there because if, a president is, acting corrupt and breaking all these laws, it doesn't matter if the previous one or the previous 10 also did it. If they also engage in this corrupt behavior and action, then they also should be held accountable. And the American public should have known about that at the time, and they would have. And then, possibly he wouldn't have got reelected because of this scandal, and we could have had a lot of different things happen. But no, she didn't think it was an impeachable offense. And just another example, in my opinion, why she needs to not be the Speaker of the House anymore. I really hope her challenger in that district in California beats her, because I believe his name is Shahid Buttar. He is I believe, a public defender. He's spoken out, on, a lot of these different progressive issues throughout the years, even back then when she was being silent. He has this very clear progressive track record and would do a much better job in Congress than she has. And so I really hope that he gets elected. Look him up on Facebook or other, or not, well, yeah, he's on Facebook or Twitter, or go to his website, check him out. Highly recommend you voting for him if you live in Nancy Pelosi's district, because it's clear that, we need to do everything we can to get her out of Congress at this point. I mean, and this is just the kind of cherry on top, in my opinion, because how nuts is that? she knew that George W. Bush lied us into the Iraq War. She and the Bush administration knew they didn't have these weapons of mass destruction, but no, not an impeachable offense. Nothing to see here. We don't want to make it a way of life. Just like, what kind of thinking and logic is that? It's very illogical thinking, and it makes no sense to me. So yes, really hope she gets defeated in the 2020 election cycle. We need to get her out of Congress, and we need to replace her with Shahid Buttar, who is a progressive activist and lawyer and would do so much better job of representing the interests of the everyday ordinary working people instead of the being beholden to the corporate interests like Nancy Pelosi is. She doesn't support Medicare for all and a lot of these other progressive measures, which Shahid Buttar does. So